Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio modest amid subnational revenue growth, says presidency. 10 insurers risk liquidation as 43 scale recapitalization hurdle. 7 OPEC members increase production by 188,000 barrels per day. Oil tumbles as Trump cancels attack on Iran to reach nuclear deal. Nikkei Kospi slide even as Trump cancels Iran's strikes. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Bakar, your guide. The presidency has asserted that Nigeria's debt to GDP ratio remains relatively modest at barely 40% when compared with numerous peer economies and advanced nations, highlighting comparison with South Africa at 85%, Egypt at 80%, Ghana at 60%, Kenya at 75%, the United States at 130%, the United Kingdom at 110%, and China at an unofficial 300%. The administration emphasized a significant reduction in the debt service to revenue ratio, which fell from nearly 100% in December 2022 to less than 60%. Special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, in a statement titled Facts Not Fair, a point-by-point response to Atiku Abubakar on Nigeria's reform journey, he explained that this notable achievement demonstrates improved revenue efficiency coupled with conservative and astute debt management. The National Pension Commission, PENCOM, says the fresh investment window for pension fund administrators, PFAs, extended by 2 years. The regulatory forbearance will allow them to invest pension assets in securities issued by the parent companies of their pension fund custodians. The move, contained in a circular release and signed by the Director of Surveillance Department, Salim, stressed that PENCOM is expected to give pension managers greater flexibility to diversify investments at a time quality investment instruments remain limited in the domestic market. PENCOM said the temporary relief will remain in force for 24 months, insisting that the policy was designed to improve investment opportunities without compromising the safety of contributors' retirement savings. The Commission explained that the extension was informed by prevailing realities in the financial markets. In other currency, how much the Naira exchanging for other currencies? Let's have a look. Nigeria's insurance industry has entered a new phase following the successful completion of the National Insurance Commission's NICOM 12-month recapitalization exercise under the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act, NIRA 2025. The reform is aimed at strengthening insurers, improving governance, protecting policyholders, and supporting Nigeria's economic growth. Reform is designed to strengthen the financial capacity of insurers, improve corporate governance, protect policyholders, and position the industry to play a bigger role in Nigeria's economic development. NICOM says 43 insurance and reinsurance companies have met the new minimum capital requirements, while 8 firms that submitted evidence of compliance close to the deadline are undergoing final regulatory verification, expected to be concluded within 14 days. According to the Commission, the stronger capital base will improve claims settlement, expand insurers' ability to underwrite larger and more complex risk, attract investment, and enhance Nigeria's competitiveness in regional and global insurance markets. NICOM adds that the exercise marks the beginning of a stronger, more resilient, and technology-driven insurance industry with renewed focus on consumer protection, innovation, and deeper insurance penetration. Okay, beautiful. That sets a tone for our conversation. Then we have joining us in the studio to help us understand the significance of this milestone, its implication for investors, insurance companies, and policyholders. Now I'm being joined by Victor Olamide Matthews, portfolio manager at Nuremberger Asset Management Limited. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Now, to begin the conversation, NICOM has announced the successful completion of the insurance sector recapitalization exercise.
Yes.
What does this milestone mean for Nigeria's insurance industry?
So it's a good one. It's an improvement. It improves the safety net for individuals, policyholders, as well as the insurers themselves as to what to do. Before now, there were a lot of unclaimed risk, unclaimed dividends, unclaimed risks that are yet to be taken by the insurers for these individuals. As a result of that, it has depleted the amount of economic activity that is yet to be taken up by these individuals and reduce the economic activity and has effects on a lot of things, including the GDP of the country, as well as the performance of these different sectors, the sectors that those companies are in line with. So as a result of that, this is a good one. It improves the safety net for these companies. Other companies too who did not see insurance as a very important one for the growth of its business or even the sector. So we definitely see this as one of the factors they can need to work on to improve the way they perform well. So it's a welcome development. The sector has done a lot, improving based on industry estimates. I believe the figures released, though is industry estimate, not yet reported by NICOM yet. It's about 300 billion was raised in this recapitalization process. Huge feat out of 132.5 billion that was supposed to be raised. So I think they can now underwrite a lot of risk that they couldn't in the past, or even the ones they've passed on to foreign insurance or reinsurance companies. So it's a welcome development for us.
Okay, we have now higher minimum capital requirements.
Yes.
How does it translate into better protection for policyholders?
So, okay, here's how it goes, right? Before now, policyholders had difficulty in claiming dividends. And even if they claim it, claiming their whatever you may call it, maybe risk claims from these insurance companies. Even if they claim it at a very later date, and that increases the risk. It's difficult for these companies to pass on this risk or take on additional business venture. Everything you do, right, incurs a lot of cost. If you can't pass this cost or risk to another individual to help you cover it, then you will be less inclined to improve yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, it affects economic activity. So policyholders, companies, individuals, those who go into life insurance, those who are into non-life insurance, because every significant capital matters for a particular economy, right? Human capital is there, the life insurance covers that. The non-life insurance, we talk about aviation, you talk about agriculture, you talk about marine aviation, marine sector. All these sectors need to be covered by the insurance company. And when you look at Nigeria's insurance market penetration is less than 1%. That's significantly low. when you compare that to its other counterparts here in Africa. So it's a good one for policyholders. They will be more confident to take on much more business venture, since they are more confident that this will be covered by insurance companies. The insurance companies have better capacity to do that.
So we might likely see more penetration in the
More likely,
sector.
yes, of course.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, NICOM says 43 insurance and reinsurance companies met
Yeah.
the capital threshold,
Yes.
while 8 are still under verification.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the competitiveness of the industry?
Okay, let me give a background to this. Right before now, we had about 60 plus insurance companies involving both the life, non-life, the composite, as well as reinsurers, right? And during the exercise last year, around this time last year, August 5, August 6, that was when the NERO 2025 came into place, and this restructure and recapitalization process, which is a balance sheet exercise, not a pricing exercise, right? It's a balance sheet exercise, came into place, right? And when this came into place, we knew it was going to reduce the number of participants in the economy. Probably there is almost a little to no chance for that remaining the same. That happened in the banking sector back in the early 2000s, right, where the number of banks was reduced from as high as 80 to about 20 to 25 banks. However, the number is not what just matters. What matters is how strong those numbers are, right? You mentioned earlier that 43 companies have been confirmed to have met this minimum capital requirements. 8 are under final verification and validation, right? If, let's assume, the whole 8 get full approval by NICOM as well as the Big Four to go ahead, that's about roughly 50 plus. That has reduced the number of insurance companies from about 60 plus to 50. However, these are not the same companies they were a year ago. 2 billion for life insurance last year. That was the minimum capital requirement. That has been increased fivefold to 10 billion. 3 billion for non-life now has been increased to 15 billion. The composite was about 5 billion, now is 25 billion. And the reinsurers, which are the insurance companies, 4 insurance companies themselves, has been increased from 10 to 25. Right, that shows that they can take on more risk, more than 3 to 5 fold. They can do close to 3 to 5 times what they couldn't do, what they could do this time last year. So sure, it's increased the competitiveness within the sector. We have way lesser number of them, but they are way stronger right now compared to where they were 365 days ago.
Talking about, they become strong, or they are stronger now.
Yes.
Do you see this improved insurance capacity to underwrite large and strategic risks, such as oil and gas, as well as aviation, agriculture, and infrastructure?
Yeah, of course. It does a lot in that particular aspect. You had, let's take, for example, the non-life, where the minimum capital requirement was 3 billion. They had it difficult to underwrite risk in probably an offshore oil company, or offshore oil platform, even an oil refinery, because the capital base may not even be able to cover most of the equipment in case they run dry or they become written off, right? A lot of them were just focusing on little or small motor insurance, third-party insurance, which they couldn't carry. They were facing significant competition from foreign companies, foreign insurance companies. As a result of that, they were even outsourcing to reinsurers at additional cost. So this is a welcome development, as I mentioned earlier, as it improves them in the ability to be able to take on these big high-ticket assets, risk assets, as you may call it. So they can do more, right, cover more, reduce the cost, as I mentioned earlier. They don't have to reinsure to foreign companies. And as a result of that, it makes the economy grow further and better over time.
And do you see that attracted investors, with this recapitalization move? Do you see it boosting investor confidence?
Yes,
I'm talking about attracting both local and foreign investment into the insurance sector.
Yeah, it does. I believe I mentioned earlier that about 132.5 billion was the objective to be raised in the recapitalization process. That's within the 12-month process period, right? But if you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the industry figures, the estimates, not yet confirmed by NICOM yet, I believe, is over 300 billion. That's more than double they've raised. That shows that there's a lot of confidence in this NERA 2025 Act, as well as the policies behind that. What matters now is the transparency, right? Foreign investors have seen that there's an improved transparency. There is improved supervision because NICOM, as I mentioned, now has a full enforcement teeth within the insurance sector. So within this sector, if we have a significant supervision by NICOM itself, the transparency is significant. Also, all the companies or majority of the companies have a minimum capital requirements of 100% as stated in the NERA Act of 2025, then definitely investors' confidence shouldn't be what we should question any further. It's just to work on what we have in the foundation and to build it to where the destination is.
Now, Mr. Martin, before I let you go, could this exercise trigger mergers, acquisition, or consolidation within the insurance industry?
It's not a question of if it's going to, it definitely has to. Or it's almost saying, you already mentioned that that's the NICOM commissioner, Mr. Olusegun, almost saying, he mentioned that no company is going to be allowed to fail, right? We have for 3 companies, 8 under final validation and verification. So if we have that, that means we have like close to 10 to 12 who are yet to meet. So what the plan for NICOM right now is to ensure that there will be mergers, all right? Instead of making them liquidated or fully out of the sector, there will be mergers and as well as acquisitions by the big guys in that sector, right? So definitely it's just a matter of time when this is going to happen, but it is definitely going to happen.
Victor Olamide Matthews, it's been a pleasure having you on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Let's now head to the commodities market where gold prices gained on the multi-commodity exchange by 0.3%. Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board and the Bank of Industry have inaugurated the Investment Committee of the Nigerian Content Equity Fund, a $100 million financing vehicle designed to provide long-term capital to indigenous oil and gas service companies. The initiative, which has an investment limit of $5 million for each beneficiary, is expected to deepen local participation in the oil and gas industry by providing equity financing to businesses that might otherwise struggle to secure conventional loans. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, said 7 of its member countries have voluntarily increased production by 188,000 million barrels per day, with effect from September 2026. The countries included Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, and Oman. In its X handle, OPEC outlined the potential increases to include Algeria 6,000 barrels per day, Iraq 26,000 barrels per day, Kuwait 16,000 barrels per day, Saudi Arabia 62,000 barrels per day, Kazakhstan 10,000 barrels per day, Oman 5,000 barrels per day, Russia 62,000 barrels per day, totaling 188,000 barrels per day in the months in view. And now to energy. Oil prices tumble more than $4 a barrel on Monday after U.S. President Donald Trump held off on a fresh attack on Iran, seeking to reach a quick deal that will halt Tehran's nuclear ambitions and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Brent crude futures slide $4.49 to $83.44, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $79.77 a barrel, down $4.90. Both contracts jumped more than 20% last month after fighting between the U.S. and Iran resumed and as attacks on several tankers around Oman heightened security concerns, deterring shippers from entering the Gulf to load oil. Nigerian Bourse rallies 8.68% in July as profit-taking caps month-end gains. Olamide Ojo has details.
The All-Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 0.84% to close the week at 245,283.68 basis points and 158.326 trillion naira. A total turnover of 5.119 billion shares worth 404.762 billion naira in 285,223 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 3.918 billion shares valued at 271.428 billion naira in 123,514 deals, contributing 76.55% and 67.06% to the total equity turnover in volume and value. The services industry followed with 203.203 million shares worth 3.061 billion naira in 18,333 deals. The third place, the consumer goods industry, had a turnover of 191.283 million shares worth 13.203 billion naira in 30,730 deals. Trading in the top three equities, First Holdco, Ava Capital, and Access Holdings PLC accounted for 2.308 billion shares worth 224.773 billion naira in 27,359 deals. A total of 4.607 million units of ETPs valued at 549.378 million naira were traded in 6,535 deals. For bonds, a total of 305,369 units valued at 311.559 million naira were traded in 53 deals. On summary of price changes, 33 equities appreciated in price, 56 equities depreciated, while 53 equities remained unchanged. Olamide Ojo for Business Express.
Nikkei Kospi slide even as Trump cancels Iran strikes. Let's have a look at global stocks market update. Well, this is where we end today's edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NT's channel. Business Express returned on Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Bakar. Have a pleasant day.